Hey everybody, it's Mr. Hasquin. Just your run-of-the-mill social studies teacher trying to share some stuff with more things I think you should know by being alive. And hey, we've got James Monroe today. And we'll look at James Monroe through his revolutionary roots, his presidency, some foreign policy stuff, the meaning behind the Monroe Doctrine, and then while recognizing his role as the final founding father to serve as president. He was also the last president to wear breeches or short pants. So, hey, he's got that going for him, which is nice. Now, James Monroe was born in 1758 in Virginia and was still a teenager when he joined the Continental Army to fight in the American Revolution. He was wounded at the Battle of Trenton, and that was the same surprise attack where Washington crossed the Delaware River. That experience made Monroe one of the few presidents who literally fought for American independence. He'd studied law under Thomas Jefferson, and like Jefferson, he became a lifelong supporter of states' rights and also agrarian democracy, Jeffersonian democracy. As Monroe had served as a public servant in just about every branch of government. He ended up being a U.S. senator. He's the governor of Virginia. He was a minister to France. He actually saw the French Revolution firsthand. He was a Secretary of State and a Secretary of War under Madison during the War of 1812. He was known for having a steady hand. He was quite calm, loyal, rarely divisive. And in 1816, he was elected 5th President of the United States, winning nearly every electoral vote. Now, Monroe's presidency is remembered for the so-called era of good feelings, a time of national unity following the War of 1812. So where do we get this name from? Well, because for the first and only time in U.S. history, there was basically only one major political party. The Federalists had collapsed, and Monroe, who was a Democrat-Republican, was broadly popular. But, this era wasn't all good, kind of like, how Pax Romana, Roman peace, doesn't mean everything was just peaceful all the time. So, what happens during the era of good feelings? Well, during Monroe's terms in office, slavery debates began to heat up. The Panic of 1819 triggered the first major U.S. economic depression. And the Missouri Compromise in 1820 exposed some pretty deep sectional divisions in the United States. In addition to being in the era of good feelings, we have the Monroe Doctrine. In 1823, James Monroe issued what became his most famous policy. In the Monroe Doctrine, it said, Europe, stay out of the Western Hemisphere, and we won't interfere in your affairs, so don't interfere in ours. And at the time, it was aimed at preventing European colonialism in Latin America. Now, over the next 200 years, it was used and sometimes twisted to justify all sorts of U.S. foreign policy, from protection to intervention. Now, but in its original form, it was bold. It was a new republic warning the old empires, basically, just back off, stay away. Now, as far as Monroe's legacy and his final years, he, like I said at the beginning here, he was the last of the founding fathers to serve as president. After him, we effectively hand over things to a new generation. James Monroe helps shape American diplomacy, territorial expansion, and the idea of American neutrality, but also maintaining a degree of dominance in the Americas. He died on July 4th, 1831, exactly 5 years after Jefferson and John Adams, making him the 3rd president to die on Independence Day. While he wasn't flashy or deeply philosophical, Monroe understood government. He respected stability, and he kept the country moving forward during a time of quite rapid change. Now, James Monroe didn't seek power for its own sake. He believed in service. He believed in unity, and he liked the idea. He liked protecting the young republic's future. If you picked up anything new today, hey, leave a like or a comment, a follow, a share, something. And keep doing that stuff. I'll keep making these things you should know by being alive. Because, James Monroe showed how quiet strength and steady leadership can still shape centuries of history to follow. Thanks for watching.